What's up everybody, 40 the Broadway Saiyan here, and welcome back again to my YouTube channel, bringing you guys another video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. In this video, I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts about the global first LD that we're going to be seeing soon, which is Balthier's LD. I'm going to be first of all covering what it does, and then afterwards giving you guys my overall opinion and what I feel about it, and do I think it's strong, and how it really does improve the character. But first, if you guys are brand new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. That way you guys are not missing out on future uploads. And if you guys enjoy what you see on this channel, be sure to hit that like button and share this video, as it does help me out. Thank you once again to Square Enix, specifically to Joshua and Glacy for giving us that awesome stream a few days ago, highlighting what Balthier's LD does, and also everything else that we're going to be getting for the 3rd year anniversary for the game. And also thank you to the rest of the awesome DFFOO content creators and streamers, those of you that create those guides, those awesome websites, those spreadsheets, just everything to make the experience for this game that much better. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and give you guys my overall thoughts on Balthier's LD. So first of all, if you guys are unfamiliar with what Balthier does currently right now, he is a range damage dealer that specializes in stealing enemy buffs. With his EX, he will be cleansing debuffs from himself and stealing buffs, and then afterwards he has 2 buffs that are Way of the Sky Pirate. That one is stackable, and the other one is Snatch. Now both of those buffs, what they do is they actually further improve Balthier's offensive capabilities, because damage is not Balthier's primary role. His primary role is a buff controller utility against enemies, and he is there to pretty much disrupt buffs, make sure that enemies aren't giving themselves too many buffs, so then that way it's going to make it easier for your party to take advantage of the fight and be able to dish out more damage, and at the same time improving Balthier's, performance and capabilities for your party. Well, with the release of his LD weapon, he is going to become much more powerful, okay? And we're going to be highlighting the reason why his LD makes him that much stronger. So first of all, at full limit break, Balthier will have access to 4 uses of his LD ability, Tides of Fate. Now, he's also going to be getting a 60% permanent attack up at full limit break. So just think about that. He's already adding an additional 60%, additional attack. So some of you guys were saying, oh, Balthier's damage is low, his skill 1 and skill 2 are a little lackluster. Well, now he just gets a permanent 60% attack just by having his LD weapon fully limit broken. So his damage is definitely going to skyrocket. Next, after he uses Tides of Fate, he's going to be removing all debuffs from the party. So now Balthier has another form of utility. He's more of a team player now, and he's going to be SNAing every single debuff from your party, which is amazing. He's going to get 3 levels of his Way of the Sky Pirate for 8 turns, which is good because 3 levels is where you want that to be at. He's going to be stealing 3 buffs from each enemy and extending them by 1 turn. So he's going to put more advantage on, for himself to, to be able to dish out damage to the enemies. And then he's going to be performing a powerful, AoE range Brave attack plus AoE HP attack, dealing 100% HP damage. Now, from what I understand from talking to a few folks in the community who have done a little bit of data mining and stuff, there should be a 150% Brave overflow on this ability. We will find out officially when Square Enix releases their video before this character's LD weapon does come out, but there should be some form of overflow on this particular ability. And then the biggest thing that Balthier gets from this is a special effect called Sky-Plying Strawl. Now, this special effect, in order for it to be active, you just either have to have the weapon equipped on Balthier or have the weapon passive unlocked and equipped. It doesn't require you to actually use the LD weapon. So that in itself is already bringing value, because you don't need to, waste a skill usage of his LD in order to actually benefit from the effect. You just have it active immediately. And that level 1 effect is going to be an attack plus 50%. So just think of it this way. Balthier already has a 110% permanent attack increase to himself. So again, if you were kind of doubting his damage, well, his damage is definitely going to skyrocket now, because he has a 110% attack increase alone by having this LD weapon or LD passive equipped. At level 2, it's going to give him an additional 50% max Brave increase, so now he's going to be dealing even more HP damage. At level 3, he's going to get a 20% Brave damage up, which is extremely valuable because Brave damage reduction is becoming a very common theme in these Lufenia fights. At level 4, he's going to be getting a 20% HP damage up. And we've seen how powerful HP damage up from characters like Kurosame, Dark Knight Cecil, Charlotta. Being able to enable your party just to deal more HP damage is very helpful, especially for some of these Lufenia fights where, again, brave damage reduction is a thing, or they have like this enormous amount of HP that you got to get through, and there's tight turn conditions. This is extremely helpful. And then at level 5, where you want this effect to be at, it's going to be extending the effects to the party. Now, in order to increase the levels, Balthier either has to take an action, and he's going to increase it by 1 level, or he's going to have to steal a buff and increase it by an additional level. So you can actually gain 2 levels right away by taking an action with Balthier. If you know enemies have a buff, he steals a buff, he takes a turn. That's already 2 levels added there. So then theoretically, you can actually get 5 stacks just by taking 2 actions with Balthier, assuming that the enemies have buffs attached to them. Now, what I want you guys to pay attention to about this effect, because I've already been hearing like a lot of things about like, oh, it's lackluster, yada, yada, yada. That aura is not so great. But take a look at the aura again. Is there a turn duration? No. Is it tied to a buff? No. It is tied to an effect. Once Balthier has this at 5 stacks, you're benefiting from these effects permanently. And this is extended to the party. There's no way for you to lose this unless, for example, you swap out Balthier for a friend unit, or if Balthier gets KO'd. That's really the only way you're going to lose this effect. It's an extremely powerful effect. Again, brave damage reduction being a very common theme in Lufenias and future Lufenias, that added brave damage up and HP damage up rolled into the effect for this particular LD weapon is huge. It is huge. Okay? Now, I know that this character gets compared a lot to, you know, certain characters that may have similar effects. For example, I just mentioned 3. Charlotta, Kurosame, Dark Knight Cecil. They all have a form of HP damage up. Kurosame's can go up to 30%. I believe Charlotta's is 20 or 30. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then Dark Knight Cecil's is 20. Well, theirs is in the form of a buff or a debuff, which, again, can get cleansed. It can get dispelled, or it can run out because it has a turn duration. Balthier's doesn't have any of those restrictions. As long as 5 stacks are active, you benefit from it. It's pretty much a mini burst effect. And speaking of comparing characters to Balthier that do this, when you do your research, guys, and like you're thinking about pulling for a character, you know, you're listening to your favorite content creator, whether it's me or Joseph or Black Nero or Liz or whoever it is, right? And you're listening to them and you're, you know, getting this information presented to you. We also want to encourage you guys to do your own research. Use the links down below, the Dissidia DB, Dissidia Info, the Tonberry Troop. And when you're actually like putting these characters side by side, don't just look at like one common denominator and be like, oh, well, that character has that, so it's the same thing. It's not how you do it, guys. You also want to see, okay, what does Balthier have that Kurosame doesn't have? What does Kurosame have that Balthier doesn't have? After you see those 2 points, then come to a conclusion. Okay, how can I really benefit from this character? Do I really need this character? Just think about it that way. Another thing that I want to mention regarding his LD is that at 3 limit breaks, his Brave Attack ++ and its HP Attack ++ will now enable you to increase his active Way of the Sky Pirate. So it's a way for you to pretty much keep Way of the Sky Pirate active, so then that way it's not running out. So that's something that I do want to mention. And that HP Attack ++ is actually much better now. It's now 3 hits, which is really, really good, dealing an HP attack. So that's also something that he's going to be getting from this. But anyways, going back to comparing Balthier to what he does to other characters, look at what each character cannot do and then make your decision there about just how much value this character is bringing. But from what I'm telling you right now, Balthier brings an extreme amount of value. And also, why not use Balthier with, for example, Kurosame? If Kurosame has his debuff that has 30% HP damage up, and you pair that with Balthier's effect, that's 50% HP damage up. And I know there was a question brought up, well, isn't there a cap at HP damage up? From what I've been seeing from, you know, playing JP and both Global, there isn't. So that's 50% HP damage up if you have both Kurosame's debuff active and Balthier's effect active. It's insane. It is absolutely insane just how much damage you could do. Another character that I'm already seeing Balthier getting compared to is Paladin Cecil, who later down the line is going to be getting a very powerful LD and a very powerful burst. Paladin Cecil, I believe, if I recall correctly, gives 50% brave damage up and 20% HP damage up with his LD effect, but there is a condition tied to it. In order for the party to benefit from that, Paladin Cecil's HP has to be greater than 100%. Now, he does increase everybody's max HP, so it's fairly easy to keep that effect active, but there will be fights where you're going to be experiencing a lot of constant HP attacks. For example, one fight that I could think of is Transcendence 2. The final fight for that, those stupid annoying parrots, if you don't time your heals or your HP regions properly, that's going to be one fight where Paladin Cecil's effects of being able to increase brave damage up and HP damage up is going to be nulled out because it's really hard to maintain that. Or for example, another fight that I can think of, and Black Nero actually brought this up in his video, is the Desh Lufenia Lost Chapter. That's another one where it's going to be really hard to maintain that. With Balthier's, there is no condition. There is no restriction. All you need is 5 levels. After you have 5 levels, you have it there permanently. Just think about the value that really brings, guys. And some certain specific Lufenias where Balthier's utility can be very, very good because it helps control the orb is Arciella's Lost Chapter Lufenia requires you to have an Esuna effect or a cleansing effect. That one is going to be one where Balthier can actually be useful. Another one that I can think of is the Ceodor Lufenia, I believe, is one where he can actually be really good. Ceodor is another Esuna character, but let's say you guys don't care about Ceodor and you already have Balthier, you pull for his LD. Ceodor can actually be pretty good for that. And another thing that makes Balthier really, really good is he's not tied to an element. Paladin Cecil, again, there's a lot of popularity behind him. I love Paladin Cecil, one of my favorite characters, but he's tied to the holy element, and there's going to be some content later on where the holy damage is going to be absorbed, and you can't bring Paladin Cecil. At least Balthier, even if his range damage is resisted, bring an enchant in peril of another different element. There you go, and you will still benefit from the effects that you get from his LD effect. Now, I know a concern that was brought up is, why didn't he get LD extension boards? Why didn't he get a rework? Think about it this way, guys. That LD is already loaded. As you can see, they have these developers for, these characters and these different weapons for Dissidia Opera Omnia. They can make an LD weapon extremely crazy. We've seen it already on both Global and JP. And LD extension boards, guys, they vary in depending on the character. For example, Vivi's base LD effects was already extremely powerful. So he recently got his LD boards on JP, and his LD extension boards were more so just quality of life upgrades. Where, for example, let's compare 2 recent characters on Global that got LD extension boards, which is Machina and Ramza. If you look at Machina, who got his LD weapon earlier than Ramza did, right? Because his is returning. His LD was pretty cool. It allowed for a follow-up attack as long as you have that debuff on. But look at what his extension boards did. He now has 2 HP dumps, and he also applies the debuff before he does the damage, so then he will allow himself to have that follow-up attack after using the LD. Pretty powerful, and it balances itself out. But then look at Ramza's LD at base. It's already really strong. He has a chase effect, he has a delay effect, he batteries, he has a really powerful overhead effect. So the LD extension boards for that, to balance things out, just gave him a Brave refund after the first HP attack and increased Brave potency, and I believe increased Brave overflow is the other thing that he got with it. But so LD extension boards, guys, they vary. If an LD weapon was already pretty strong at its release, for example, Balthier's, the LD extension boards isn't really going to matter for this one. So I know, yes, they could have given it to him, but to be honest, he doesn't really need it at this point. And then a rework. So yes, Balthier's damage was a bit questionable, but again, I highlighted what this weapon does for him. His damage is going to skyrocket. It's going to be significantly higher. And let's not forget, his EX, if you haven't realized, has a super fast recharge rate. You do a skill, you do his HP attack plus, you have access to his EX already. And remember, his EX, Esunas himself, and also steals buffs. So what's more to ask for from this character? Honestly, I am very happy that he is the global first LD. Do I wish there could have been another character that I could have wanted more? Absolutely. I wanted it to be Rydia. I predicted that it was going to be Zack or Vincent because Final Fantasy VII has a bigger fan base. I totally understand if you were disappointed with the reveal, but look at it this way. Square Enix did not have to give us all of these global first characters or global first LDs. They didn't have to do that, but they're doing it anyways because they've seen just how much support that they've gotten from the community and just how much it excites players to be able to see this early content. And honestly, Balthier is going to be very good. I highly recommend you guys pull for him. If you guys are doubting, do your research. Talk to your fellow DFFOO community. Talk to your favorite content creators. Talk in your Discords, wherever you guys like discussing, and just really find out the value that this character brings. So that's all I'm gonna say about this topic, guys. I think he's fantastic. I'm very excited. I'm gonna be farming up my Diablos boards, so then that way I'll have a ton of tickets to be able to hopefully net his LD weapon. Good luck to you guys who are pulling. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about Balthier overall and what he got from his LD as an upgrade. Again, thank you for watching. 40 the Broadway Saiyan signing out. Mahal, everyone.